Hey, Fire Legion, Josh Fullenwider here, bringing you the next episode. Anyway, we recently had a discussion on the Facebook group about what would be better: no debt, and you get $3,000 a month the rest of your life, or $1,000,000 in debt and $10,000 a month the rest of your life. So there's a lot of questions on that, and I tried to leave it purposely vague so you could interpret it how you wanted to. But the basics of it is the whatever money I said, the 3,000 or the 10,000, that was meant to be money after all your debt service. So if it's a mortgage, business debt, whatever, you get 10 grand a month. Or if you've paid everything off, you get 3 grand a month. And those numbers in particular, I chose because 3 grand a month by the time I retire, might be what Social Security is for me. If Social Security is there, we'll see. I'm not too confident it's going to be there, but that's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, $3,000 a month for a married couple to live on if they have no mortgage is enough to buy groceries, pay your bills, everything else like that, but it's not enough to have fun on. So, I mean, because once your mortgage is paid off, you've still got taxes and insurance, and I don't think people realize how much of your mortgage payment actually goes to those things. In particular, where I live, my taxes, and I do not have a monster house, but we have a metro district, so our taxes are higher. We're also in an area where the property taxes are just a little higher. So I'm going to say the number, and people in New York are going to scoff and think it's ridiculously low, but $4,000 a year for taxes. Okay. That might be a lot to some, not a lot to others, but you figure 4 grand divided by 12. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but that's more out of that 3,000 every month that you probably weren't planning on. So I'd rather have 10,000 to pay that stuff. Anyway, so it really comes down to personal preference, and it's all about risk. Are you risk averse, or are you comfortable with risk and debt? Are you comfortable with $1,000,000 in debt being out there in your name? Me personally, I am. At some point, I'm hoping that I'm comfortable with $10,000,000 in debt in my name, because I want to have the money that supports it, and I want the bank to go through all my financials and analyze it and say, hey, we'll lend this guy $1,000,000 because we really strongly believe that he's going to pay it back based on all of his income. So $10,000 a month. You can do a lot on $10,000 a month that you can't do on $3,000 a month. If you live in the same house, that is a completely different lifestyle. So you're traveling, you're going out to eat, you're doing all the fun things that you always wanted to do, because you got 10 grand a month to live off of versus only $3,000 a month. Now, there a lot of people will disagree with that and say, no, get rid of the debt, get rid of the debt, get rid of the debt. And that's okay too. At one point, that was my goal, was to be debt-free. And it's still kind of my goal. I wanted to get rid of my student loans, which I did. We paid off all our credit cards. We've paid off any car loans. So all we've got is really real estate and business debt at this point. So I'm not saying go out there and get $1,000,000 of bad debt. I'm saying this $1,000,000 in debt would be good, healthy, self-sustaining debt. So, and what I mean by self-sustaining is whatever asset that debt is lent against goes to paying that debt or that $1,000,000 back. So $1,000,000, if part of that's a mortgage payment, well, you'd be paying that for rent regardless of where you lived. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I was surprised at the level of responses and the reaction that a lot of people had to this, because to me, I guess for me personally, I try to balance that every day. I wake up some mornings and I say, I need to get out of debt. This is ridiculous. And you definitely have that feeling when you feel like you can't make a payment. Or if you just wake up and realize, oh my God, I have that much debt out there. I need to do something about this. So, and that's okay. It's okay to want to get rid of debt. A lot of financial experts, that's what they focus on, is getting you out of debt and getting you into a healthy financial position. But you can have a healthy financial position and still have debt. If you've got enough money to make all your loan payments on $10 million, $1 million of debt, and you're still putting $10,000 a month into your pocket every month, that's pretty healthy, And really, I mean, I'd say $1 million ain't what it used to be. For real estate right here. So I could probably buy 3 houses with 20% down payment in my area right here, and that would equate to $1 million in debt. That'd be my personal house and 2 rentals. If I bought property right today, and that would be $1 million in debt right off the bat. When you look at it that way, it's going, well, that $1 million doesn't get you a whole lot. Well, that's the point. That $1 million, if you're taking on $1 million in debt, you better make sure you're getting a pretty good chunk of change in return every month for that risk. So, I loved everybody's discussion. If you've got more questions about it, feel free to reach out to me on it. If you disagree with me on it, that's fine too. Personally, right now, I want $1 million in debt with $10,000 a month in cash flow. Now, 10, 20, 30 years from now, my priorities are probably going to change. And I saw that a lot when I was in banking, was that people were okay with growing that debt as long as they were growing their business or their real estate holdings or whatever it is. They would grow that up, and then they'd get about ready, they'd start looking and saying, okay, I'm about 5 years from retirement, 10 years from dead, or whatever their thing was that they were thinking on. They were thinking, okay, no more debt. We're going to reduce debt, and then we're going to retire. Some people paid it off, and some people paid off $1 million of debt in 5 years, which was pretty impressive. Then others said, we're just not going to accumulate more debt. We can service the debt. It's fine. That $1 million just kind of hangs out there, and they retired. But they're not getting any more of it, so that they're going to have that naturally paid off by the time they pass away, and they can pass everything on to their kids debt-free. So, it's all personal preference, guys. What's your risk tolerance? Are you okay with having $1 million in debt out there? I'll add one more thought to this here. If you owe the bank $10,000 or $100,000 and you can't pay it, you've got a problem. The bank is going to come after you, and they're going to repossess your car. They're going to foreclose on your house because they want their money back. Whether it's $10,000 or $100,000, you've got a problem. But if you owe the bank $10 million and you can't pay it, bank has a problem. They don't want to foreclose on a $10 million property. They don't want to have a bad loan of $10 million on their books. And this happened in banking. Fortunately, I didn't have to see anything at that level, but several things in the $1 million to $5 million, $1 million to $7 million range I saw, where the loans went bad, and as part of the bank, we bent over backwards to make sure those customers stayed afloat and in business, and that they were servicing their debt at least a little bit, so that we could we did not have to foreclose and put a $10 million foreclosure on $5 million foreclosure on our books. So, that's something to think about, guys, is having $10 million in debt makes it much harder for the bank to want to foreclose on you. You have $10 million in debt and you stop paying it, don't get me wrong, your lending officer will be up your butt trying to get you to pay that money. On the other side of it, his boss will be close to firing him or her, him, her, they, whatever you want to say, if you stop paying that loan, because that lending officer vouched for you, got that loan, and it's their loan. So, there is that. All right, I've rambled on enough about this subject. Love to hear more about it. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Let me know if this changed your mind at all. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Y'all have a great day. Hey Legionaries, thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like, comment, and share, I'd appreciate it. Let me know what type of topics you'd like to see covered in future videos.